Welcome to today's table talk session on NACA. I hope that before you preview this video that you actually go back and watch the first video that I posted, and that video is the introduction to NACA. I'm giving the pros to doing NACA and giving an introduction to what NACA is, the program itself, and how you can utilize it as a tool in order to be ready to become a homeowner. Now, I did explain in that last video as well that there's a lot to NACA. There's a lot of things that will have you with questions where you may not necessarily understand, even after attending the three and a half to 4 hour long workshop that you have to attend. You will still have questions. And so today, I'm going to talk about preparing yourself for the actual intake session and the documents that are required and tools that I used in order to help my husband and I to stay on track towards homeownership. So this is the NACA website. This is where you would go if you want to look at your web file. In order to get to the web file, you must have a NACA ID login, and they will email that to you once you've attended the workshop. You'll be put in their system. So basically on the website, you would hover over with your mouse the word purchase, and you would go down until you click on the word purchase resources, because the workbook is a part of their resource. So you would click on that and you would come to this page that says purchase resources. The book that you were looking for, the workbook, is called Qualification Workbook. Before you are able to actually purchase your home, you have to be qualified. Like, when you go to a bank and they have to run your credit and they say you're pre-approved, well, NACA will help you to not be let down. They will have you qualified so that basically when they go to send you to prepare your loan and all of that, you will not really have bumps in the road because they've prepared your file to go through, to be qualified, to be ready. And again, that's why I said NACA is like a good program or a tool, because they helped us to be ready when we went through our loan. So you would click on this qualification workbook and it will load. Here is the workbook. So again, no down payment, no closing costs, no mortgage insurance, no consideration of credit score, no perfect credit required, interest rate below market. And so it'll tell you what their purpose is for NACA, right? Once you scroll down, these are the things that I kind of went over in my first video. So I'm going to scroll down to the key information for today. Is that the current membership dues are only $25 per calendar year per household. So again, you do have to pay that fee, and you can either pay it the day of your appointment or before you. But I wrote down that the membership due is $25 a year, and they also will pull your credit, and this is a necessity. They need to do that so that they know what you're working with. And this is why I'm actually promoting NACA, because they not only address what is on your credit that is probably going to hinder you regardless if you don't finish with NACA or not. Because again, we did not finish with NACA, but NACA prepared us to be homeowners. So getting right to it. I know that was already a lot right there. It's already 3 minutes in. I'm trying. You can schedule your intake session by calling the number here, and you can schedule for a face-to-face appointment, which is what I would recommend at the local NACA office, or you can do a phone counseling appointment. To prepare for your intake session, which is what I'm going over today, these are the documents that you will need, and they're all found in the workbook or this PDF file that I'm showing now. You will need the budget forms of page 16 and 17. You need to use your bank and credit card statements to verify the information. You might as well do it because you have to scan and upload your documents anyway. So whatever you write down, they'll be able to check to see if you're accurate. So you might as well just do it in the first place. You need to know what your finances are looking like. Like, that is real and it is important. And NACA really helps my husband and I to have clear communication. We talk about this every month. It just works out. It's just better for you. So it's doing it so that you can identify how you're spending your money, and they want to make sure that you have yourself in a routine of having a savings. And that's what we call a payment shock, especially for people who are trying to get a mortgage that is not meeting what your rent is currently. You will hear the term payment shock. So if you are only paying, for instance, $500 a month for your rent, and it is possible, believe it or not. Let's say you're only paying $500 a month for your rent. Well, let's say that the mortgage that you're looking for is $900. Well, you're going to have to prove to NACA that right now, from now until you are able to go through the full loan application and everything, all the way to closing, that you can pay that additional $400 without fail. And that is what they call payment shock. Okay. And on top of it having the payment shock, it would be a good reason to make sure that you still are able to have savings, to have cushion there. This is what the monthly budget form looks like. You will see that you would write your name, you tell what month it is and the year, because again, you have to do this every month and you have to upload it so that they know that you're working on your budget monthly. It becomes easier the more that you do it. You do go over, and I say every month because I do this monthly, and my husband and I, we do this monthly just to stay on track. You would write down the total gross income. You have where it says the borrower, co-borrower. You also have the section where it's the net income. Now, this section right here is what you would fill in before going to the workshop or during the workshop. And then when you get home after hearing all of the information, you're going to write down what the amounts actually are. And then in this last column, you're going to write what your goal for those specific categories to actually be. For instance, like your car loan, you're going to find out from the statement how much the balance actually is, and you're going to write that down. And then in this column, you would write how much your monthly payment is under the workshop column. Under the workshop column, you write how much the actual monthly payment is. If both of you and your spouse have car payments, then you both will write down what's the balance. Your credit card, you will write the balance. If you have more than one card, you are writing the balance. And then in the workshop, in the actual column, you're telling how much your minimum payment is. And you're going to just fill out all of this information. That's including charge-off and collections. Please note that your charge-off and collections will have to be paid in full if it's less than 2 years old. So your NACA process is going to also depend on what your credit and your report is looking like. Your rent amount, the mortgage payment, if you're paying a mortgage payment, this is for people who are like more so on the home save program. If you're going through NACA and you're doing the purchase program, you cannot have a mortgage in your name. Your phone bill, mobile phone, home, internet, cable, electric, water, the typical things that you would normally pay when you're paying rent and what you will have to pay when you have a mortgage. Groceries, other food and beverage, your gas, car insurance. If you take public transportation, how much does that cost you per month? You know, you're really having to delve into the amounts that you are using per month that affect your household. There are 2 pages to this budget. If you pay your own medical directly, then you would write the breakdown. Our medical was taken out from our gross automatically, so we didn't have to really fill in this section, except for the co-payments. We pay them when we go to the doctor once a year. After you've calculated your income versus your expenses, and I like to do it by the net because the net is really what you touch. You can do both the gross and compare that to the net, but basically is what you will tangibly be able to touch, because you're going to have to come up with your monthly savings commitment. That means every month you are saying that you're going to save this amount without fail, and you're going to sign a paper saying that this is what you're agreeing to because you're committing to being financially on track. Yes, things happen, and you have the opportunity to write a letter of explanation if something were to happen and you had to withdraw from your savings account, but you don't want to have to do that at all. You don't want to have to touch your savings at all. You want to be a clean little bird. You want to be cool through this NACA process because less is more. Your expenses, you need to decide how much would you be able to save per month. Now, NACA has this rule, and it's like a $200 rule. They say that you need to have a cushion of $200 that you are able to save or put away every month. And I agree with that. I think that if you literally are not able to save anything, then you need to reduce your debt, eliminate a debt. You've got to get to where there is a cushion because emergencies happen, life happens, and you have to be able to take care of life. Like people will come and say, "Hey, fam, I need to borrow some money. Like I got in this bind." But then, if you mention anything about budgeting, they're like, "What you mean budget?" Like, when you were eating that Burger King or you were over there buying them shoes, that was like $50 that you could have been putting aside to savings. Like priorities, friends, priorities. Um, and not to say that we've always been perfect, but it has taken going through this process to more so help us to manage our money in a better way, to figure out what is important to make sure that we're good. And so that was a goal for ourselves. So NACA will say you need to try and save a minimum of $200. And again, that's a minimum. We made personal sacrifices. So instead of me going and buying 5 outfits every month, when there was the money to do that, we chose to buy ourselves a home. So that's something also to consider. Like if you're used to going and spending your money all willy-nilly, your process to home ownership is going to be based on how much are you willing to sacrifice and the level of dedication that you're wanting to give to meet your goal. Now, let's say you're not ready to purchase your home and you want to give yourself 2 years out. I would still say to start the NACA process because they will help you to look at your credit once they pull it at that intake session, and they will let you know what needs to be removed, what needs to be off of there, what you need to clean up in order to be ready to purchase your home. Um, so that's the first part of the intake session, and the next part that you'll have to turn in is this daily expense. So, like, let's say starting on a Sunday, you would track what you spend for that week, and you would calculate, if you're stopping at the convenience store, if you're stopping at Dollar General, if you're stopping at Dollar Tree, whatever it is that you spend throughout that week, and then you would have to multiply that times 4 because typically you would have those habits throughout the whole month, and then you would have to include that into this section on this page. It says daily expense as a part of it. So that's what you will need as a part of your intake session. Please know here that you have a monthly savings commitment. Every month you need to be analyzing what you are spending, and it's really for your good. Residences in which you've lived, the apartments you've lived, and they'll verify that. And it'll stay on your web file. Your employee contact shows proof of employment, of course, and participation commitment. So you're required from NACA to volunteer some service hours, and you'll set that up with when you would like to participate. But you have to have your hours done prior to you being qualified. So you might as well just knock that out as well. As far as in financial documents, you need to show your employment income. So whether you receive your virtual pay stubs, which is what I receive, or paper pay stubs, your employer should be giving you a pay stub, whether it be digital or whether you're getting a paper pay stub. You need to print that out, and you need to make sure that you are uploading that into the web file. Now, I'm going to insert a video so that you can see how I arrange my Google Drive. The Google Drive is a tool that I used in order to keep us organized, or to help keep us organized. Everything that was uploaded onto the web file was also uploaded to my Google Drive in case they asked for it again. Now, you may hear this when you go to the workshop. They'll say, well, NACA asked me for this paper, and then they asked me for it again, and then they asked me for it again, and then they asked me for it again. I heard that from several people, And so for me, I'm going to be positive Patty. I'm going to be positive, and I'm going to say, okay, well, if I upload it on Google Drive, I took my laptop with me when I went. I sat in the office one time on our appointment and uploaded it right then, and and my counselor received it. No big deal. Like I had it airdropped in there. You know what I mean? You just got to be prepared. I had a USB jump drive. I had it copied on Google Drive, had it on a jump drive. Whatever it takes to be successful, let's rock it out. That was me. Like, we're on a road to home ownership, and my husband was on board. You know what I'm saying? You do whatever it takes. Hey, and we did it. Um, so you want to have your employment income. And again, it is organized in our handy dandy binders. In our binder, everything was in sleeves, from our bank statements to our income, everything organized. How I had it organized on Google Drive was organized in our binder the same way. So my husband could pick it up. He knew where to go. It was just super organized. Okay. Whew. Bless. For the next part that I'll go over, it says if you have any alimony or child support, you need to make sure that you have receipts of verification. Other incomes, you get Social Security, disability. If you have W-2s. Now, every time we file taxes, we keep our W-2s. I have them from the past, like, 4 years we've been married. Doesn't even matter. I just keep them. And you should, you know. Bank statements, the last 90 days. Yes, your bank statements. And every page. It doesn't matter if there's right in front to back. They want every page. If it says page 1 of 7, you must print, you must copy every page 1 through 7, front to back. If there's writing, especially if there's writing on it, they want every page. I'm gonna show you a app that I use called CS Scanner, and this is how I was able to upload our documents no matter what. We can sign the documents and it counted. I was able to scan it, upload it, and then we were done. You need to make sure that you have your tax returns. Tax transcripts, tax returns, two separate things. You need both. And I called for hours, and my husband, we did it together, but we called for hours right after the workshop. So we had our stuff, we had it together, we were on it. But you do want to call, because when I tried to get it online, it was ridiculous. It took forever. And it just did not work. I tried about 4 times. I was like, bump it, I'm calling. And I didn't have to talk to anybody. All you had to do was use the dials to type in your information, and they mailed it. And we got what we needed. So calling worked for me. You need both tax returns and transcripts, and you need both years. Get the last 2 years to be safe, and you just need it. And it says it here, last 2 years with all schedules and transcripts. Credit card statements. If you have a credit card, you need the statements for the last 90 days, and that's every page. They want to know what's the beginning balance, what was the ending balance. The next part is if you have anything about bankruptcy, divorce papers, anything like that. And that's the bulk of the intake session. The rest of this just says to make sure that you uploaded the files. And when you go to upload your files, you will need to use what I did was an upload status. It's hard to explain, but in Google, there is a section where I had upload status so that I could keep up with what I uploaded, because sometimes it will take your upload and then sometimes it gets kind of wonky and you'll have to upload it again. Or either you'll get to the counselor say, I don't see what you uploaded. And you're like, yeah, I did it. It won't matter. You just do it again because that's what they asked for. You just do it. No matter how many times they ask, you just do it. I'm trying to help you out. But yeah, this is the last thing that I want to share about the intake session. Is that when you go to the intake session and your counselor talks to you, she's going to pull your credit. And this is personal information. And so I'm going to back up severely because it is personal. But you're going to have a intake session with your counselor, and before you leave, Your goal is to get what we call an action plan. Say that with me, action plan. The action plan is what lets you know what you need to do or have done when you come back to your mortgage counselor. So it will look like this. It'll say action plan, and I'm covering up important information. Please note that I have stickies, and this sticky was used as a checkoff to make sure that as I was uploading documents, I was checking that I had my husband's stuff, my stuff, and the other things that were being required. So yeah, stickies, had a pouch and everything to help me keep organized. You will get an action plan, and the action plan will be however thick your file when they pull your credit is. And basically, what it's going to tell them is if you have any delinquencies, if you made any inquiries, like say you went to go buy a car, but you didn't get the car, but you made an inquiry, they had to pull your credit, it'll show up as that inquiry, it'll show up. If you have credit cards and you have balances on those credit cards, you will need to have paid down that amount. And I'm trying to find the page. I will find it. It's on the action plan actually, so I'm gonna read it. On the action plan, it says charge off and collections reported within the last 2 years must be paid in full and provide proof of payment and no outstanding balance. So let's say you had a $800 collections that was put on your credit, and it happened a year and a half ago. That $800 has to be paid in full. Anything past 2 years, they will not consider. But if it's earlier than 2 years, it must be paid in full. So again, it depends on your file when they pull your credit on how quickly your process is going to be. We had what we would call a clean file. We didn't have a whole lot of money that was being owed. Student loans, things that are typical, you just had to show that you had payment on it, but nothing like crazy. And so we really were just saving to make sure we had all the money we needed for our earnest money, or MRF. And you'll see the letters MRF, and it'll tell you minimum required funds. That's what that stands for. That's the minimum that you need in order to meet their expectation to be ready for qualification, to be NACA qualified. I hope that what I've said today has made sense to some degree. That was a lot of information.
That's all for today. Please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. If you have any questions, drop them below. Tell me what's something that you want to learn more about with NACA.